Last week I found myself in a very familiar environment. One that I have probably photographed over 100 times by now, but still I found myself waking up, making the short drive just to see what type of images I could capture. Now during the shoot, I had a few thoughts that I wanted to go ahead and share with you, and they're all based around the concept of finding a common place for your nature photography. Greetings, my fellow outdoor photographers and enthusiasts. If you are new to the channel, I just want to take a second to say welcome. My name is Riley Clark, and I am a nature photographer and filmmaker based out of the great city of Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, it is every photographer's goal that I have ever met to seek out the most epic and beautiful landscapes and conditions that we possibly can find. And yes, this is great, but today I wanted to challenge this notion, and I wanted to give you guys this thought, that you can find more fulfillment from your work shooting at a location you count as common than you might find at one of those banger locations. Now, what do I exactly mean by that? Because that's kind of a crazy thought. Shooting a location that we count as common allows for more creativity, imagination, and growth potential for us as photographers. These locations are also a perfect way for us to create a benchmark to monitor our growth as a photographer, which for me personally, this is the most rewarding thing for me, is to see the growth in my work more than capturing that beautiful, epic, once-in-a-lifetime image. Now, I have been shooting this location ever since I discovered my passion for nature photography. It is undeniably what I personally consider my commonplace. So let's take my work and use it as an example to identify areas of growth that I have made so I can help drive this point home for you guys. Now, at the beginning of my photography journey, I was definitely able to identify subject and light, just like anybody else out there. But I didn't quite know how to effectively capture the story nature was sharing. My work later then developed into finding supporting characters, which led to more complete compositions, but these photos would still sometimes be unbalanced, poorly processed, and lacking depth and character. Now, the great thing is this, because this area is close to home, and I know it like the back of my hand, I was able to identify these weaknesses and create images that I was able to directly compare to see if my training was actually paying off. And slowly, as my eye was trained and developed, I was able to see these improvements, which brought a deeper sense of fulfillment as a photographer. Now, the second point I want to make about finding a commonplace is that you learn that patience is key in these locations. Now, this is definitely true in every situation that we find ourselves in as a nature photographer, but in these common places, in these areas that we find familiar, patience can be taught to us in a way that is invaluable, a way that when we are somewhere cool later on, those lessons are gonna pay dividends, and we're gonna be very grateful that we spent time in those areas. Now, one thing I love doing is just going out to shoot photos with no hopes of creating a portfolio piece at all, and sometimes I even just capture images that are never gonna see the light of day. But by slowing down and just by going out for a walkabout with my camera, I'm able to think and I'm able to see things differently than if I was under pressure needing to create an image. Now, during these walkabouts, I'm able to create a catalog of compositional possibilities that I'm able to put in my back pocket until the right time calls for it. Now, this might be when crazy weather comes, or maybe when I'm out with better light, but regardless, when the time to act is at hand, you're gonna know exactly what to do, which is a great segue to the next point I want to make, which is shooting a common location lets you practice new techniques and master your equipment. Now, I'm gonna come clean to you guys. I actually originally filmed this entire video out in the field as a vlog, and I recently got a new vlogging camera, and I wasn't really paying attention to the settings, and I accidentally muted my mic, which left over half of the footage without any type of audio. Now, I also brought out my FPV drone to give it a go in the wild for the first time ever. And me being the hot mess that I am as a photographer, I forgot the longer cable that I needed to connect my phone to my goggles, so I had to use the tiny one that my Air 2S controller had. So it was a little bit uncomfortable plugging that into my goggles. To make things worse, I also couldn't get the drone set into manual mode because I apparently didn't change all the settings that I thought I did. So I had 2 major equipment failures on this shoot. Now, if this happened while I was on some shoot, maybe in Alaska or Colorado or somewhere I paid a lot of money to go visit, I would have been so angry and so upset with myself that I probably would have lost all enjoyment from the whole experience. Now, since we're here in the office redoing this video, I get to change things up a little bit and help drive the point home more than I was doing out in the field. So yes, we definitely need to learn our equipment, and I'm gonna take that note myself, but more importantly, Common Places give us an opportunity as photographers to try out new equipment, new techniques with that equipment that we might not have tried out at a bucket list destination. And these techniques that you practice might also very well save those bucket list shots for you too. So on my way to shoot that sunrise shot I wanted to capture, I noticed a unique composition that required me to shoot a 3-shot panoramic photo with my camera at a horizontal orientation. Now the reason is my 15mm lens wasn't quite wide enough for me to grab the whole scene, and also wide enough for me to grab, more importantly, some foreground elements. So what I decided to do was to shoot a little bit tighter and do that panoramic shot so I could get every detail from that shot in the frame. Now I have shot many panoramic images before, so this isn't the best example of learning how to try out something new, but the thing is, this exact location, Red Rock Canyon, my Common Place, is where I learned how to shoot panoramic images, which later helped me capture some of my best portfolio shots of my career so far. Common Places are the perfect place to try out these new techniques. Now, before I share my last point with you, I wanted to take a second to invite you guys to subscribe to the channel if you are not already, and maybe consider hitting that like button down below if you have enjoyed the content so far. All these things make the algorithm happy and also helps give me ideas on what type of content you are wanting to see from me and on this channel, so I really appreciate the interaction and the engagement. Now on to my last point, which is Common Places allow you to practice telling a story. When we travel to a destination, we typically go there with a specific shot in mind, which in all honesty is a huge waste of our time and money if the only thing we do is capture the iconic compositions and nothing more. It's hard to snap out of this when you're caught up with the beauty of these scenes and locations, especially after all the research that we do. But Common Places give us the opportunity to train our brains to see more than what is just in front of us. It also helps us learn that telling a complete story doesn't mean that every shot has to be a portfolio piece, but rather a piece to the puzzle of the complete story. So let's talk about the elements of good storytelling just to help drive this point home. So in good storytelling, you have a theme, setting, and emotion, which are all told with a beginning, a middle, and an end. At the beginning, the theme and the setting are set. So for this shoot, I wanted a sunrise shot with snow-covered desert peaks, and the setting was Red Rock Canyon, or AKA my Common Place. Now the emotional element is really what brings these stories to life. Now this could be by creating an element of peace and tranquility, or maybe there is some drama and conflict present. But regardless, there are always ways to set this up. For example, I set the theme and the setting with the first image I captured with the moon. Now from there, I actually have a few images where I can show the rising action of the scene until the climax, or in this case, that sunrise shot I wanted. From there, it's easy just to go ahead and pack up and leave, but there's still more story to be told. I then captured this sun illuminating the desert and then showed how the light interacted with the scene that we were exploring over time. And again, these aren't portfolio shots, and honestly, some of them aren't even that great of photos, but they all support that bigger story being told. Now, this type of approach to your photography will undoubtedly bring more fulfillment, and the habits can all be built in this common place. So in 2024, I encourage you to find a place like this and to put these tips into practice, because for me personally, they have fundamentally changed my photography for the better.